Oh no, I'm naked.
Xander.
Just kidding.
We'll CGI a purple shirt onto you.
Oh, good. Okay. Make
post.
sure it's a Zelda shirt and
Mm-hmm.
maybe some.
Yeah, it looks real.
decoration.
Like no one will see your nipples, which
Oh,
look great,
good.
by the way.
Oh,
Hello,
thank you.
everyone, and welcome to Boldly Watch, a Star Trek rewatch podcast where we only talk strictly about Star Trek.
Yep.
We're great at staying on topic.
Mhm. I feel like I look like Sargenta. Or is that a name of spaghetti sauce?
You know,
Sarjenka.
when Katie walked by briefly when I was watching this episode this morning, and she goes, "That freaked me out." I go, "What?" She goes, "That little girl." I go, "Why?" She goes, "I thought it was Chucky."
Not wrong.
It is. This
Why do you
was
think
the
you look like
prototype
her?
for Chucky.
Why do you think you look like her?
I'm just comparing the images.
I
One
can
in
see
the
a
green screen
similarity.
background.
Yeah.
Do you know who that actor is?
No.
The child?
The child. I don't think you would. She's
Haley
not
Joel Osment?
super famous.
Weird.
It is Haley Joel Osment. That's right. He saw Dead People well before this.
Uh-huh.
No, she's an actress. She's an actor named Nicole Cox or Nikki Cox. I remember from this. She was from a show called Unhappily Ever After, which was like a ripoff of Married with Children. She played what was essentially the Christina Applegate character.
Oh.
But
And
she was
that's
also.
the
She was on like
grandma?
Vegas and some other stuff too. No, she's not the grandma.
I've never seen all these things.
Well, they're kind of more 90s. Like she was a late
Yeah.
90s person. She was in that NBC show Vegas as well, but I didn't recognize her as a child, obviously, and definitely not in this Insano makeup. That makeup is orange, and apparently got on Brent Spiner's makeup as too, so they had to limit how
sure.
much they could touch each other because it kept rubbing off on his yellow/white makeup.
Yep.
Makes sense. His jaundice makeup.
Yeah. Definitely
You know-
not a human.
When I need a break, I like to step out into the holodeck, into the fresh air, and ride on not a small animal, but a large animal.
Or a beast, even.
A beast.
A mount.
A mount.
Well, Troy makes a good observation of that. I didn't take you for an animal person, and he says, well, not small animals, but ones you can ride, absolutely.
But you get a teacup chihuahua around me, and I'm furious.
If I can't ride that teacup chihuahua, then I'm furious.
That's right. We're talking about Picard riding horses in a very sexy flat cap. Like the Newsies cap. Oh, gosh.
I'm
I would
into
buy a
this
newspaper
outfit.
off him in this outfit for sure.
He
That's
could
how I
sweep
judge who
my
I buy
chimney.
newspapers from.
Yeah.
They also use some interesting Steadicam in the
Right.
horse riding shots. Really beautiful camera work.
Listen, I feel like after living here now, there's like the Pickwick lanes and like horse riding in Burbank, and I swear that they must have filmed something like this. Like they got a date crew out, and they're like, "Okay, we'll take Patrick Stewart, and I guess Data, and Marina Sirtis. You three, come out here."
I actually thought at first that was Griffith Park where they were filming.
it
Turns
could
out
have been.
it's a ranch out in Thousand Oaks, so we're not
Same
terribly
thing.
far off.
Do you think that they shot these scenes before they'd written the rest of the script?
No.
They just decided that they had a horse ranch.
You think they got horse footage first, then just shoved it
Shoved
into
over
an
the
episode
line.
about a girl whose planet was doomed?
I could believe that they got the schedule booked first, and then wrote the episode around. Okay, we've got a horse. What can we do with that?
You guys.
Yes.
There's like
and to
hundreds
be fair,
of thousands of dollars that go through this. I don't
Listen,
think
Jake.
yeah, but also
We
a
are
lot
on
of
the
flapdashery.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah, to be
This is how
fair,
it works.
your description of a girl whose planet is about to explode is half of the episodes.
That's
that's true. Yeah, that's fair. I give you that point. That's right. It's pen pals. Because when Becca said that's right, it's Picard wearing horse pants or whatever.
right.
You said.
John
Flat cap.
Data makes contact with a girl from a pre-warp civilization on a planet facing imminent annihilation.
Oh no! Is the Enterprise crew gonna do something about that?
Well, it's another quandary where they have to decide a planet's fate.
a planet with a civilization that is pre-warp and pre-contact with other alien life.
Hold on, but that's violating the Prime Directive.
Oh
Yeah.
no, Data Tomato, oopsie.
I
Oh,
can't believe he said oops.
I loved it. I'm
Oh my
so glad they did.
Oops. So
Yeah.
Data, let's see where to start on this. We go into a very deep part of space where planets live fast and die hard, according to Riker. And and it turns out that one of these planets is in imminent collapse, and Data, as a pet project, is going over all the frequency and energy beams that are coming or bouncing around in the system, and
Leaving all his toys on the floor.
I know that's the most disorganized. I would like that doesn't make sense for an
doesn't
android.
make
Wouldn't he
sense.
have it like in a nice little row?
Or
But it's
like a table.
a table.
He saw
Damn.
humans being slobs, and he thought, to be more
He
Oh.
spent too much time in engineering.
He had like a random distribution algorithm for how to spread his tools out on the floor. I like that, Becca. I
Yeah.
like that.
I'll
That is more
emulate
human.
sloveness.
Buffer
And-
time.
And he picks up a message, and he picks it up right at the beginning, which is, "Hello, is anybody out there?"
Right.
I
Great
of course
timing.
picked
You
up
have
a
to
Pink
answer.
Floyd album, sir.
It's coming from the dark side of the moon. We want to, but it's just another piece in this wall that we're up
Oh
against.
my goodness. Well, I wish you were here to see this because we had a great time watching it. So we go to the credits, then we come back
Sure.
out.
That was the
Wesley,
cold open.
yeah, that was the cold open. Wesley is given an assignment where he's actually going to be in charge of a very important surveying mission, and he's going to be given a staff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
But wait a minute.
Mhm.
Does the anybody out there thing at the end of the first act or the end of the teaser? I guess it's the end of the first act.
Whatever.
Okay, well, regardless,
Mhm.
Data confronts Picard in the holodeck and
Holodeck.
says, "For 8 weeks, I've been talking to a person."
Right.
So 2 months passed. Is that
Yes.
right?
So there's the assignment that happens to Wesley, and then they're moving in to the area, and it takes a long time to move through and survey because they're conducting these geological surveys. So they're taking their time combing through the area, and some time has to have passed because otherwise there's no results and no tests have taken place.
And thus, presumably, like on Wesley's side, there's a 2-month. That's a 2-month project too.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm kind of I didn't miss it, but I was confused by it. But I get it.
Yeah,
now.
there was a
And
time
yet,
jump.
no one's hair changed at all. It's incredible.
Space rules.
Listen,
and you have to
in
have pointy
space-
sideburns.
Yep. Wow, that very distinguishing feature that everyone notices upon watching the show. I cut David's hair like that because he's had me do it ever since leaving was not an option. And, I just cut him into a point because I
Why
thought,
not?
what do sideburns look like? I know.
This is the future.
He wasn't pleased.
I would love that.
Okay, well, come on over.
Okay.
But stay 6 feet apart.
Copy that. We'll get an extension cord.
I'll just get a really long buzzer.
Yeah, with like one of those hand grabby tools.
Oops. Oh, hold on. I'll get the name.
Oh God, that's not a point.
Hang on.
Those are my eyebrows.
It's okay. They
Oh,
grow,
okay.
right?
At least the sideburns are pointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wesley has to assign people, and he goes to interviews, or not even interviews. He just goes up to these various other ensigns, or I guess they are ensigns. He's not even one yet, and says, "You're gonna be on my team." And they're like, "Cool."
It's
and
various ranks too. It's not just ensigns.
oh, really? I
Yeah.
thought they were all
Oh,
one
maybe,
pips.
I think there was like a lieutenant in there or something like that, or probably a junior lieutenant.
And who's the first one he meets? Davies? Is that what his
Yeah.
name was? And he's
This
all like,
dickhead.
"Yeah, you can already tell he's gonna be an issue, right?" How did
Yeah.
you know,
Davies is the
Becca?
worst.
Science officer.
Eh.
Was it his
You
face,
just
Becca?
hate all science officers except for
It wasn't his face. It was his cocky way of saying yes. And then immediately he says, "Oh, you asked those people to be on the team?"
You should have
Rookie
talked to me
mistake.
first, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And
Because he doesn't like
also-
married couples or something like that?
Yeah, you don't want to be on a team with a married couple. And I could see, because there's a way that like a married couple would communicate that might leave team members out or make them feeling awkward if it becomes heated. which
Strongly
is just a normal
disagree.
form of communication for the two of them.
I would
You
say
strongly disagree it's possible for a married couple to have that issue?
impossible. I would say married couples have developed a shorthand, yes, but they're also very in tune with communicating with one another, not being afraid to say what they're really thinking. Therefore, going to help the whole team to communicate better.
Sure, but there's an argument to be made of if you're spending your work time and your private time with someone, that might be too much. And so it's suggested that maybe married couples don't work on projects together.
Well, that's up to the couple, I would say, you know.
And the person deciding the team.
I think
In this
that's
case,
where
Wesley sided with you, Becca.
yeah. I think
And
that's where I'd
Wesley's a great decision maker, so
It was
as someone who's
foretold.
been married on a team and been with other people who are married on a team, I think it just depends on the couple. But I think
Sure.
you can fall into both the pitfalls and the glories of what we're both talking about here.
Yeah.
But thankfully,
pitfalls and the glory hole.
Well, marriage is different than I thought. I think one of the things too is the backhanded way that he says, like, if it gets too tough, just let me know and I'll take over. And it's like, there's a better way you could have phrased that.
and then he immediately contradicts himself, was like, I'll take over because we have to prepare you for command. It's like, well, that doesn't prepare him for command if
Yeah.
you're taking over.
Thank
Right.
you. Never mind. I'm going with a different direction for this team.
Yeah,
Dickhead
yeah.
Davies. That's what he should have said.
But what I do like is that later on in the episode, when he decided, you know what, I am going to do that survey that they said was going to take a lot of time, that guy was like, absolutely. And then
I
just
love
went
that.
and did it. I was like,
Yep.
oh, wow, that's great. We didn't make him a shallow character who is just going to be hard-headed about it. He is a Starfleet officer who knows what he's supposed to do. And he did it.
And
Yeah,
a lot
well, I
of the
was gonna say-
drama was Wesley internally taking, he was just offering advice, and they were
It was
both
just
saying,
confidence, right?
yeah, this is how long the survey could take. It could be a waste of time, but if you want us to do it, we'll do it. And he took it as, oh, you're wasting our time, and we're superior officers. So it was his change on how things are said. I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
Well, an order is an order.
Right. Get those surveys done.
Insightful stuff from Ensign Becca. Ensign Becca. That's who I am.
Yeah.
Ensign.
Oh, I
Yeah,
do
the-
want to mention too, just going back to when Data was futzing with the signal that he found, he does a classic like TV trope, especially in the 90s, of enhance. And if you look, you can find there's like a clip of, or like a montage of every time
Of
that people
enhances?
have said enhance while looking at a screen.
I wonder
Well,
if there
thankfully, it
was
was
a
just an audio
particular-
enhanced.
Yeah.
I wonder if there was a particular show or actor that wins the award for most enhancements.
It's got to be CSI, right?
I think it's CSI.
Probably.
They enhance from blurry photo all the way to like high quality, like
Yeah.
Google Earth image level.
Yeah, reflection in a pair of glasses on the table or something.
Aha, that's why I'm the expert.
Well, so yeah, I guess that's kind of the majority of Wesley's story. That's another story like kind of last episode where kind of just doesn't resolve, right? Like they figure out, well, I guess it resolves in the end in that they were quote unquote right about being able to fix the problem, which was that the planet that this girl is on is the core is made of dilithium and the way it grows is in a lattice pattern.
Right.
The
Which
details
is-
got very gobbledygook. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what this is interesting too, and for anybody who is concerned about spoilers for the future in Star Trek, we get into Star Trek Discovery, which is a new season is now coming out, and we find out. Do you guys care? Can I talk about it?
Spoiler alert. Everyone
spoiler
plug your
alert.
ears.
Okay,
Skip
yeah,
forward 10
I'll take a
seconds.
spoiler.
Okay, go
I usually
ahead.
don't, but I want it now.
There's a big thing that happens in the future, and it incapacitates Starfleet in that there's something in this season that they're investigating called the burn, where all dilithium suddenly explodes. So it's interesting that they're setting the pattern for this in this episode because it comes back later on because all of the starships that were using dilithium to power their cores exploded.
But didn't they know you just gotta vibrate at a certain frequency?
Right? But it happened and nobody's found out what the source of it was and stuff like that. So
Discovery
I guess
takes
I
place
will.
before this or after this?
The first two seasons of Discovery take place before this. This season takes place way after this.
Wait, Discovery is an anthology?
Discovery does some time shenanigans.
Looks like you discovered something new, Jake.
Yeah. For anybody who gave up on Discovery like season 1 or 2, give this most recent season a chance, and even the one before it too. They really find their footing, and it feels like Star Trek again.
Yeah,
I'm gonna jump to the new season then. Thank you for the pro tip.
No
we'll
problem.
definitely get there in future podcasts eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do time shenanigans. We'll see.
10 years later. Can I say something you've left out of the Wesley story is a great scene in 10 Forward with Wesley and Riker, where he gives excellent advice that it's this task given to Wesley is not about him actually completing the task. It's about him building his confidence in the command chair and command track. And he says some things like, trust your own judgment if you want to be in the command chair. It's arrogant to think that you won't make mistakes. You just got to make a decision and go with it. And most importantly, WWPD.
Yeah, I wrote WWPD too.
What would Pulaski do?
Just leave.
Just
leave. Show yourself off the ship. Picard.
Airlock.
This is okay. Come back in.
Oh, it's good.
It's too late.
And also Riker the fuckboy strikes again, because as he's leaving 10 Forward, he says to a woman sitting at a nearby table, I'll see you later. And she like giggles and looks around.
You could tell he was on a date with her, because they were like having a great conversation, and then you see her like deflate, like, "Aw, there you go."
I always love when TV shows do that, where you just see the last snippet of a conversation or of a joke, and then they start laughing. And the line that he gave was, "You should have seen the look on his face." So like anything could have happened before that. We don't even get the end of the story. Like I always love when they just give the punchline of like, "And then the fish died," and then the person just erupts in laughter.
Well, he was talking about his Anbujitsu match with his dad, so you should have seen the look on his face.
I mean, it wrote Wednesday on the armor.
Most of my acting experience is being the woman at the table that gets interrupted. And so I pride myself on saying a different punchline every time.
And here's your soup, miss.
Here's your potato salad, miss. No soup.
Well, let's talk
chicken cordon bleu. Still soup.
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is the Prime Directive conversation.
That Picard's right. Never mind.
Oh.
Well, it comes back down to this whole weird directive that we have that I think, I mean, I personally have had issues with it in previous episodes, and I definitely have issues with it now because it's just so unclear, and not everybody seems to be on board with it. For something that is literally like the Prime Directive means it's the one thing we all have to obey in Starfleet. Everybody is really wishy-washy on it and very much disagrees with different perspectives.
Well, and I will point out, Exhibit A, look who is in Data's corner caring about his feelings. Dr. Catherine Pulaski, thank you very much. That's what we call character growth.
Yeah. She also, but she's been on the side of compassion before. Her and Crusher were always very much skeptical of the repercussions of going with the Prime Directive. Crusher made specific points about those, the drug addicted culture from season 1 that was being exploited. And I feel like Pulaski's definitely, Pulaski, it wasn't a Prime Directive thing, but the aging thing. Yeah. The quarantine.
Yeah. Well, and then this, I think, brings up an interesting point in how starships are run, especially, or at least how Picard is running it, in that, yes, there is this absolute, there is the Prime Directive, but Picard's style of captaining is taking everybody's opinion into consideration. So that's why we get these great scenes where people are speaking frankly, and they say, you know, we know what we're supposed to say here, but he's asking for your actual feelings and your opinions, and they give them. And I think that's really a cool way to sort of see all aspects of an argument, because both sides have valid arguments.
Yeah, we run into the
real WWPD of it all.
Right.
We run into the issue that we've run into before of like, we still have to have a TV show, and to have a TV show, we need to have conflict, and the conflict is going to come from the characters disagreeing on the principles, right? So that's how it goes. We can't realistically have them all agree on the Prime Directive. Otherwise, what are we? It's just going to be a yes conversation, right? So it's valuable to have this, but again, for something that's so important, it's kind of crazy that everybody has such diverging views. But we decide that if it's a civilization is pre-warp, as in if they haven't discovered interstellar travel, we can't really communicate or interfere with them. And I guess this is a good example of an episode where I think we have a real obvious choice of like, well, just because why is that our barometer? Why is interstellar travel our barometer? Like, shouldn't like shared language or some sense of industry or something be a success? Because like we are pre-warp right now, we humans, and if there was a an alien civilization up there that also had a prime directive similar, and we were about to, I don't know, kill ourselves with climate change or anything fun like that that's happening, they are not obliged to save us by the same thought process, right? Do we agree with that?
Well, why can't we just gauge a civilization on whether they can serve tea, Earl Grey, hot?
The thing is, Jake, you're right. And the thing that did happen was that the Vulcans contacted humans, and we were the mistake. So the prime directive is in place because there was a fear that we were introduced to space-faring races and travel too soon, and the nature of humanity was too rash, and that yada yada yada.
But didn't the Vulcans only contact us when we actually did first hit warp 6 or whatever it was? Warp 1? I don't even know. Because it was Cochrane's thing,
Zephyr
right?
Cochrane. It depends on, there's Enterprise with T'Pol, and like before, like it gets.
There's different chronologies here?
There's different iterations of what happened.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There's no one truth, Jake.
Right. I just thought since I've seen Star Trek First Contact, I got it figured out.
Sure. I mean, that is one version of it.
So, Becca, for you, and this doesn't really spoil too much, but in one of the movies, one of the ones directed by Jonathan Frakes, actually, which takes place after the TV show, they go back in time to when humans and Vulcans first met. And that culminates when humans first achieve, I think, a certain warp number, which was like an experiment in the movie.
Right.
And I won't spoil more.
The series Enterprise takes place in that time period of like the first time that humans are going out into space. So they get into that as well.
Well, it's a little, like we were the last ones and nobody else can do it. Humans to create this whole federation because it's primarily human driven, the federation itself. And then they're like, prime directive starts now.
Right. These are great points, and you're right.
And I mean, they had to choose an arbitrary point, so they chose that. Yeah. So I guess that's the way it goes. But it's like, man, now we do have all these dilemmas because almost every single time the prime directive is brought up in an episode, it's because we all want to disobey it.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah. And oops.
One thing I do like about how they handled this was that nobody was sitting there blaming Data. How could you? You knew this was wrong. Why did you do that? You know what I mean? Like they address it, and they're like, well, we're in a pickle now type of thing, but nobody is outright, hostile or demeaning towards Data.
I mean, that's just Worf's state.
Right, yeah.
At all times.
More so than usual.
Worf's supposed to be that presence. He's the stern, rigid one, right?
Yeah.
But, like, Pulaski has...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say Picard has every right to, like, demote him or, like, give him a stern talking to.
I can't believe he didn't get in trouble for that. Right? Like, especially also, I can't believe Data didn't just tell them. Like, we kind of need to justify why Data would keep this silent for 8 weeks. That seems bananas.
Plot.
Well, that's what it is. It's plot, right? And so, like you said,
he did say that it was a private project, and he apparently something in his program didn't compute.
But when it yields life signs, like that's kind of worth. I think there's a procedure of like you gotta give everybody a heads up.
Well, everybody knew they were there. They just weren't telling them they were there. The drama means whatever these people are called.
Yeah,
Draymans.
It helps you to sleep.
Draymans.
Yeah. What do you mean everybody knew they were there?
On the planet.
Well, I'm sure that the Federation does scans.
No, but that's the whole point. So there was a probe that went there well before them, and they were like that. We found it was a fertile planet, but they didn't see life signs. Now they see the planets being destroyed, and they have still no life signs. But he picks up this signal from a distant planet in the system.
From a ham radio the little bright orange child has built.
And this, I think, Jake, to your point, could be, I think, the turning point for at least this person. If you're able to create a device, that can contact a starship,
interstellar communication, right? Yeah, that's a good point.
That should be the barrier. And they do make the distinction of like it goes from just communicating to a cry for help, which they then acknowledge.
One of the mind-boggling things to me about space is how far the distances needed to travel for just the signals alone. I mean, what we take for granted in Star Trek is like these quote-unquote subspace signals, which is nonsense, can go so far so fast that they can have almost instant communication. But that's not true. We've been broadcasting radio signals out since like the 60s, and they're like only so far out of our solar system, right? They're not even close to hitting other parts of our galaxy, let alone the universe. Totally. And so like by the time people even hear our signals, they're hearing it from like the 1950s or whatever. That's an interesting concept of like, what if he heard her when she was young and communicated with her by the time he got there, she's an adult now.
Well, now that's better writing.
Yeah. The planet then explodes.
We only have 47 days. I'm listening to you after.
Oops.
That is a storyline that could come up as well. You know, these echoes that bounce around in space, and when you come across them, they're mysteries.
Ugh, the whispers of the ghosts, right? The whispers in the darkness which become pleas.
Just want to say that our technology is growing exponentially, and with each passing year, we get closer to technology that will send signals faster. Yes. And maybe somebody's going to let us in their federation.
But here's the crazy thing, is theoretically, we can't get much faster than the speed of light. Right. And light still only travels at a finite amount. And like some of this light that we're seeing from distant stars at night is years and years old, or even some cases hundreds of years old. So like even if we can send something at the speed of light, it's still going to take millennia to reach distant reaches of the galaxy.
Well, your assumption is that light is the fastest thing, when really there's so many dimensions we haven't discovered yet. I mean, just for string theory to make sense, there must be 10 dimensions.
Sure.
For sure.
What
black
is the
holes,
relationship
big black holes
between distance, time, and then the dimension itself? Do you bend the dimensions, and which one do you exist in? You know, there's a lot of discovery.
It's like an accordion of dimensions.
Right. So do you want to stay on the end of an accordion? Do you want to be in the fold, in the middle? Where do you want to live? Or do you constantly travel through them?
A traveler.
Right, because you're constantly making decisions, which separates your string theory function.
I love how technical we got with this, despite none of us having degrees in this. This was great.
No.
Wow.
Schrodinger's starship.
Oh, I gave myself
Schrodinger's accordion. One thing I also wanted to note is if you are going to direct a TV show, if your characters don't need to eat or drink in a scene, don't make them.
Yeah, it's not pleasant.
It's never pleasant, and it's always so much work for an actor. Yeah. I now notice it so much now, and I encourage you guys to keep an eye out for it. When you see a scene and someone is being forced to eat a sandwich, and they don't need to be eating a sandwich in that scene, it is the most cumbersome thing.
Have you had a spit bucket before, like on set?
No, I haven't had to.
Done hamburger.
Oh, I've spit bucketed.
Was that from a National Lampoon's film or something?
Yeah. Yep. So you saw that
snack
one.
Crate.
The thing is like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but it's always just a little bit more work, and it takes away from the power of an actor when they have to eat. So Riker was listening and giving advice to Wesley in 10 Forward, and he kind of just takes a quick drink of his glass, and it's probably not a really big thing, but it interrupts his momentum enough that it takes away his status, where he's like casually drinking a beer while he's talking to Wesley, which I usually, if someone's drinking a beer, give them more authority. But in this case, it just felt like it interrupted the flow.
Well, and it was also differentiating that it's not a commander talking to an acting ensign, but rather two friends.
Yes, yeah.
But I've had the school of acting where you want to do other things while you're delivering lines because it makes it seem more natural. And a way to do that would be to eat something or drink something while you're giving the line, which is great for stage craft, but when you have to, with continuity and just the pleasantness of watching someone eat certain things, you have to be careful about that in film or TV.
Where it really got me was when Pulaski and Geordi both got up to go serve themselves a drink while talking about the fate of an entire civilization. Yeah. So they're in this brunch thing in Picard's quarters, and Pulaski says something about like how can we just leave these people to die, and she serves herself some tea.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's
no.
human, Jake. It's showing their humanity.
But their humanity is to be empathetic, right? Is to show that they care for these people. So they wouldn't just be casually feeding themselves from the buffet and getting mimosas while they talk about this.
I don't know. I thought, wow, I too love mimosas.
Right.
So now I relate to Pulaski.
Relatable.
So I stopped this episode and gave myself a mimosa.
You know what, Jake?
Yeah, I did. Did we not all?
Go take a nap, okay? We're gonna keep talking.
Oh, am I being a grouch? Is that what's happening?
No, it's that's said to O'Brien.
Oh, go take a nap,
Go
O'Brien.
take a nap.
Oh, yeah. And he's like, oh, I'll just nod off over here.
I'm right over in the corner. Sleepy,
Oh,
sleepy.
right. Because they technically wanted
Breaking
as few
orders.
people as possible involved in the breaking of the Prime Directive.
And Data just manages to like break every rule every single time he's given an order. Like, don't communicate with her anymore. Communicates. Don't go down there. Goes down there. Don't bring her back. Brings her back.
Okay, we're good. We all agreed we're gonna erase her memory. Don't give her anything that might help her remember.
What about the singing stone that I stole from the doctor?
Yeah, that's not even his.
Yeah,
This
Data
kid
went
heard
off the
death metal.
reservation. Like, yeah. What'd you say, Becca?
This kid definitely heard death metal.
Yeah. I mean, Data could be setting forward the future of spacefaring civilization for this little girl. She could be the one that invented, like.
That's what I was
figuring out-
wondering of, like, it's that crazy scientist who said they had a dream of meeting an alien when they were a kid and they were always going to follow it, right? Like, that's who she'll grow up to be. No! That's not where I was going. But technically, yes, she did go to sick bay, so I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it all starts.
This was another one assigned to Melinda Snodgrass, who was the writer of this episode. During the meetings, the writers considered various characters who would interact with the child. Snodgrass was successful in convincing the other staffers that Data was the best fit for the tale. She later explained, you can picture Data becoming entranced with answering the question, is there anyone out there?
Mm-hmm.
First, he's an android, and if you ask him a question, you're going to get an answer. But secondly, the whole thing would be so charmingly intriguing to him, and that he would do it. You can never picture any of the other officers doing that, but Data can make that mistake. And I don't say that in a pejorative sense and step out with his careful Starfleet training, because he's really just growing up. He's more of a child than Wesley, which that kind of convinced me a little bit of like, yeah, he does have more of a childlike nature than Wesley, because Wesley is actually trying to be an adult so much, as we definitely learned in the last episode too, is like he's always striving to become that. And we're trying to stray away from his childness a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas Data has the opposite, is like he's trying to discover the childlike nature of humanity. And that's his curiosity.
Yeah. Oh, and we can see that
isn't
in
it
direct
curiosity that defines childhood? And when we lose it, that's when we lose our childlike nature. We should all strive to have more curiosity.
Yeah,
sure.
What were you saying, Xander?
Just the parallels between Wesley getting the command role and leading a team, and then Data being, they're both in different places of their growing up in their like
Data having pet projects all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree. What else do I have to say about this?
Pulaski's
that Sargento is a weird, creepy troll baby doll.
The thing is, if you were tasked with coming up with an alien and had to put, prosthetics and stuff on a kid, I would imagine that you would want it, to look as like human-ish as possible, but also you want to you get free reign to disguise. So I like that they use like glitter and things that might have been fun for the actor to.
Her long fingers were kind of cool.
Right?
That was a new thing.
Yeah.
Her hair is definitely trapped in 1989, but like whatever.
What's wrong with that?
It's like
not bad.
It's like a lion stuffed animal with very big forehead, and it's like a child gave it a haircut just on top. It works.
It does. It's also it's an alien species someone had to design that we're like, we're never going to see this species again, but you have to make it real for this kid.
Yeah.
And we never even see any other of her species either.
Right.
She's the only one we see. We don't see her parents. They just get mentioned.
Yeah.
Budget. Full coverage color makeup is difficult.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure on a kid it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But the kid nailed it. She did a great job.
Yeah.
She was a good actor.
Yep.
There's a lot of heart. A lot of feels.
Well, speaking of heart, where was Troy's... Go ahead.
Men in Black definitely stole everything about normal citizen mind erasure from this episode.
I was
Definitely.
surprised they could pull that
Flashing eye.
off. Like
Yeah.
Picard just calls down to sickbay. He's like, "Hey, can we rub out some of these memories? Just
Yeah.
smudge them."
Wipe them.
Yeah, when you think about it, that's 8 weeks of communication that they're going to have to wipe too. So that's a lot of time.
Yeah, that girl's gonna have. I mean, it technically is brain damage, but I guess they said they just like partition it. It's gonna be stored chemically in the molecules, which is a little nonsense.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like a small lobotomy.
We deal with memory stuff later on too, and I mentioned this before, but they get more into memory and what is possible with that later on as well.
Yeah, the magic wand starts getting woven here a little
Yeah.
bit. Well, that was Pen Pals. What a weird one. I guess like all Prime Directive based episodes, they do a good job of like trying to hit on the hard philosophy of this, and they did it well here. But like the conclusion feels pretty obvious, which is we should do something, and there's not a lot of hesitation. They all eventually agree that yeah, we're gonna do something. We're not gonna tell anybody, but we're gonna do it, and then just run off.
Thank goodness there's no tattletales in the bridge crew. That's all. I
Well, and like Wesley, like his thing, like we said, just resolves. It's just like, okay, we thought we could fix it, and we did.
Because he decided to take charge. He gave orders and took command and learned something.
They tied it back into the A plot of, because he did that seismograph or whatever it was, they were able to detect the patterns of the dilithium and find the frequency. And so I like that they do tie in the A plot and the B plot sometimes, and they intersect, especially in the conclusion. That's what you want.
And Davies gave credit to Wesley that the scan that he ordered, that they weren't going to do otherwise, is the reason they were able to save the planet. And Wesley deserves this position.
That scene at the end, you could tell that they had been working. It felt like they had been working together for a while, even though it was like the married couple in Wes and the one that he didn't get in Davies. They had a sort of rapport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, at least they like we see some good development here for sure. Like I think this episode like kind of just plotted a little bit, but it definitely people grew, which is a nice thing to see. Yeah. But next episode, oh boy, we're gonna get some development, all right? Because
I hope it's better than this one. This was not my favorite. Tell me more, Jake.
Well, the next episode is Q Who.
Oh, a Q episode.
Well, this one's even crazier because the synopsis is Q throws the Enterprise into uncharted space where it encounters a previously unknown species, the Borg.
What? I love the Borg!
Yikes.
So stay tuned for some assimilation.
Oh my gosh, I wish I could be a Borg.
You might get that chance.
No.
Okay, I'll take it.
Engage.
Engage.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.